Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your Midday Market Report for Friday, December 2nd, 2022. It's not Wednesday, but we have our Wednesday guest, Mr. Andrew McInnis from Wager Talk, from McInnis Picks. Going to join us for, as he says, a little Freaky Friday here as we get ready for the weekend. NHL slate and NFL slate that we can talk about. He might have a few hidden gems for the weekend. So without further ado, let's bring him in, the one and only Mr. Andrew McInnis. Andrew.
Oh, man, it's good to be back. We're both creatures of routine. And like I said to you a couple moments ago when we were chatting, it's weird when you're not doing shows. So, and I like picking your brain as much as you like chatting with me about some of these games, and looking forward to hearing what you have to say, because you're the man on the heater right now. You're the man on the run. So I wanted to come back on the show just as much as anybody to hear what you had to say. But it's an interesting NFL slate. There's 3 games in the NHL tonight. Look forward to breaking them down with you.
In our business, in our lanes, it's what have you done for me lately? I don't care what you did yesterday, the day before that. You are correct. The ECSI VIPs on an amazing 15-1 heater, 5-0 this week. We closed last weekend out 10-1. And seeing the board real well, there hasn't been a lot of sweats. Our only sweat was our loss that we were up to with 7 seconds and the ball. It got stolen, tipped in at the buzzer. We lose in overtime. But for the most part, we've been on the right side. Looks a little sticky and sweaty, but there's been a lot of box to wire and easy ones as well. But as you know, if you have a bad weekend, that's all they'll be talking about, Andrew.
Yeah, well, you're only as good as your last play, but at the same time, it's all about the long-term results, and you're definitely putting it together. I'm trying to string it together right now in NHL. I think I'm finding some rhythm, and NFL as well, and NBA. I'll tell you what, it's mostly just been player props for me. And the funny thing is, there's been a handful of guys that are just really have been the bulk of my action. I think Donovan Mitchell, Luka Doncic, some of these guys might be the bulk of my plays. Steven Adams, how many rebounds does that guy get? You know what I mean? Like if it ain't broke, why are we going to try and fix it? You know what I mean? That's how I really feel about the NBA and the prop betting there. I mean, I don't want to figure out who's in, who's out every day in the NBA. It's ridiculous with the load management, but I understand what you're saying, but I got to tip my hat to you, and I'm happy for you. And I know it's a new day and a new weekend coming up here, but you're on a roll. And, what's funny is that I missed Wednesday's show, which I was disappointed about, but I'm back here on a Friday. And of course, I couldn't return on the Thursday when there's like 13 NHL games. And now I'm back here with you when there's 3 NHL games. It's just the way she goes, I guess.
TJ, so hot. Yes, we are, TJ. I'm glad. TJ, timing is everything in life. And TJ jumped on board at the start of this heater. And so, again, people that were a part of this once the run has been going on are having fun. It's the ones that see this 15-1 and jump on. And as you know, it's just numbers. You're better off jumping on with a team that might be coming off a 4-7 week, because the 7-4 or the 9-4 run is coming. But hey, we're going to try to keep this as hot as we can and keep it moving and rolling. You talked NHL tonight and last night's slate. Listen, kid in the candy store, I couldn't figure it out. It was like I was studying that thing from 8 a.m. till 6 o'clock at night. I just said, you know what? I'm not going to force it. And there was some great games. And you and I talked behind the scenes. I saw another one of those 3-3 going to win, who's getting the 4 first, and it's going to be in overtime, and there it was again.
It's unbelievable, and I think that you've had a great read on the team totals. And one thing you've taught me is looking at and I've kind of transitioned that into my show, was looking over at DraftKings or FanDuel or wherever, looking at the full game total, the odds on that, looking at each team and their team total, the odds on that, and then I'll take a look at their last 4 or 5 games. I feel like a lot of people, they get caught up in looking at the entire season, and I think that that's like, especially in the NHL. I've talked about this a lot recently on the shows I've done. It's a very streaky sport. It really is. I mean, of course, NHL, NBA, like you can make some comparisons, but the fact of the matter is, like, you might have Kevin Durant having a couple good shooting nights in a row, but guess what? He's a good shooter a lot of the time, you know, but it doesn't mean that a guy like Austin Matthews is going to score every game. Sometimes there's been streaks where he does do that, right? That's why he's like minus 120 to score a goal sometimes. But my whole point is that it's interesting with these team totals, whether you're looking under or over, to look at the last 3 or 4 games. And one thing I wanted to ask you, I made sure I wanted to mention on the show today, was how much do you care about recent form when it's not really against a good team? I feel like I definitely, it's something I wanted to correct with myself with my handicapping, because I think that the start of the year I was making too much out of it. Like, for example, if you had a team that beat the Ducks, you go ahead and beat the Coyotes by 4 goals, and then they slide over and take the Kings on, and they lose in 5-3 fashion. And I'm saying, well, they won 2 of their last 3, but 2 of them were against bad teams. I've actually realized that you got to think of it as they won 2 of their last 3, because if I think a lot of the times, and this is one thing I've changed. I used to be a very much so recent form guy, but who have you played against and what have you done for me lately? But hockey teams are weird, and the Montreal Canadiens are my favorite team, a team I follow closely. They're a team that's just like that, Jeff. I mean, if you watch them, they're the type of team that it doesn't matter who they're playing against. It's like golf. They play against themselves. I know that sounds funny to say, but it's not as much about their opponent. It's about how they're playing. And if you look at the line yesterday on that game, I think we saw Calgary, correct me if I'm wrong, but they were close to 300, right? I think so. So, that to me is, you've seen Montreal beat Toronto this year, beat Pittsburgh, beat some teams that they were pretty big underdogs, and they go ahead and play Calgary. So it's interesting to see, because current form, I find the NHL is important, but it's also changed my perception on who it's been against, right? And I think that sometimes if a team goes ahead and beats down Arizona, it might give them confidence. Why would it not be a good thing for them to come off a win? If this was like junior hockey, I'd say, yeah, they're probably feeling good about themselves and they're going to play flat tomorrow. When I was doing media for a junior team in my hometown, a lot of times they had Saturday night games at 7. The kids would get out of the arena at like 11 o'clock after they do the cardio or whatever, the stretching after the media interviews. Next day, they have a game at 2 o'clock. If they had a big game on Saturday night and then a really easy game Sunday, it was always flat. But I don't think we see that as much anymore in NHL. Do you think we see it?
I think that's a catch-22 in this regard. In they're professional athletes. They're paid professional athletes.
Right.
And what you were talking about with the beating up on the Yotes, well, maybe that team power play wasn't efficient, and maybe they went 3 for 4 on the power play. Something gets clicking. Maybe the second or third line have been struggling, and then they work some kinks out. So you see it in the NBA. How many times 3 of the starters are out, and of course they don't just cover the game; they win the game outright.
Yeah, every time it seems like every time.
Yeah. So back to the NHL. Right now, Vegas has had a couple of hiccups of late, but the Devils and the Bruins, I mean, do you want to step in for? We're just waiting till it's coming. They're going to be 2-4 in their next 6. We just don't know when it's starting, because This is not Guy Lafleur, Larry Robinson, and Ken Dryden here. I mean, they're playing so far over their skis. And if they're not, well, shame on them. Where was this last year or the year before? So the eye test doesn't lie. Someone like yourself that just follows this and you're spot on. Getting out, our plays. Montreal's been my kryptonite. And so someone looking at the Montreal Canadiens every night. Last night's a perfect example. Calgary's been real good to us lately, whether it's been a team total, whether it's an outright win. That number that Vegas laid at, say, minus 280, 285, there's no human possible, unless you're doing parlays, was going to take Calgary on the money line. So what do you do next? Well, what is the puck line? Minus 1.5, minus 125. Okay, well, what are they in regulation? You do everything in your power to find out how I'm going to get into Calgary. But if I said, Andrew, here's $100, just go to the window and play the Habs to win, you would have looked at me and said, hey, let's go get some pizza and the wings. Let's get a couple pictures and let's save the 100. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And the opposite way of looking at it is like on the other flip side is why let's do half bet on the plus 1.5, half bet on the money line, and a half bet on the team total under for the home team. And because you can look at it the other way too. And I will say that I've never really taken team total unders until I started talking about it with you. So I appreciate you for that, because I didn't end up releasing it, but sometimes, I know it sounds kind of funny sometimes, when something at least considers, like, crosses my mind and I consider, I'm still like, you're sometimes, like, even a bet that you left on the board, you're still happy that you were right about it. You know what I mean? And the Leafs were playing, who were they playing the other day? They were playing a lesser opponent, that's for sure. The Sharks. And I thought about taking their team total under, and I didn't take it, but it was like plus 125, and they ended up winning like 3-1. So it came down to pretty close, actually. It was 3.5. But you've got me on those, because it's interesting when you find these flat spots where certain teams just might not show up, and you can say, you know what? How can I bet? Because sometimes you're betting on the dog without actually betting on them. That's what you're doing when you're taking it. Like, when you're taking a team total under for that team, you're really betting on the other team to play well, but just not score, which is hilarious. Take a look at Arizona right now. Their team total, they're on like a 4-0 run to their team total. Would you believe me if I told you that? They've hit their team total in 4 straight games.
And go back to Toronto, I was staring at that all day. It was 3.5 over minus 120. I mean, they were just lining up lines for people to bet the over. Like, 3.5. I'm only laying 20-cent juice for them to get to a 4 spot. I mean, at worst, you're going to have an empty netter. Yeah. And it's 3-1, and they're skating around, and that's how it ends, And that's why the Bruins and the Devils, if you were betting their opponent's team total, it's been 2.5s. It's not 3.5s over there. It's not flat threes. It's 2.5s. You've been betting those under. It's 3-1, 3-2, like clockwork. Their opponents are not getting the 3.
And I think it's a really good point. Like, that's one thing that's really impressive about New Jersey for me, and the Bruins as well, is that it's not just their offense that's playing well. I mean, both teams have been really, really fun to watch. And I love that you mentioned that, because nobody's talking about that. No. Even when I was in Boston a couple weeks ago, nobody was talking. The radio, I love listening to the radio in new places, because I don't listen to the radio back home. Like, everybody's talking about, wow, this guy's playing so well. This guy's stepping up. McAvoy, ever since he came back, he's getting a point a game. Nobody's talking about McAvoy's defense, right? Or Allmark is shutting the door. He's just doing his job. According to the media, he's just doing what he's supposed to do. And the Devils as well. But honestly, hats off to both those teams for their offensive production. You know what's crazy? I think it was 15 or 20 points difference preseason for the Devils on their season point total. That is unbelievable. And everybody was like, nah, no way. No way they fly over that. And here they are, off to a pretty good run. I think that this is going to be one of those scenarios, though, where they might make the playoffs. They should. And then they get humbled right away. Would you agree with that?
That was probably what everyone's expecting, yes.
Yeah.
The Bruins and Celtics combined 24-1 this season at the Garden. to start.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine if you're that guy that had the one.
It was a couple Friday nights ago against a Cleveland squad. The line smelt. It was 6.5. And I had one of my clients reach out, a good friend of mine, and he goes, Jeff, what do you think? And I was like, well, one or two things are going to happen here. Either the Celtics are going to blow them out or Cleveland's going to win outright. He goes, are you sure? I was like, yeah. So long story short, Celtics blowing them out. And I'm like, I hope he took the Celtics, but I really liked Cleveland there. Cleveland, fourth quarter, outscores them by 18. They get it to overtime, and the Cavaliers beat them in overtime.
Wow. I wonder what the live price would have been. Probably would have been something pretty good. Yeah. That would have been some good Christmas money.
I'm going to throw you a curveball here. I know you're not going to expect I'm going to ask it to you. I got the brand new office, the studio, and I just happened go outside and I saw 1-0. I was like, all right, thank you. And then I come back, it was 2-1, and then I think it was 4-1 final. High expectations. Lay it on us. Thoughts on Canada in the World Cup?
Oh, interesting. Look, I'm no soccer expert, but I did follow them very closely. I watched as many games as I could leading up. The thing that's disappointing is like the CONCACAF championship, like the standings leading up to it. Like Canada beat the Americans, I think, twice, and they went through the group, like did really well. I don't think they lost a game in their last 4 or 5. It was either a draw or a win, but the inexperience really showed. You know, I'll say this: they, as much as they weren't able to finish offensively, they were just outclassed defensively and through the midfield. Some of the plays they got scored on though were just unbelievable. Like it's just I'm the kind of guy when I watch soccer, like most of my good friends all are soccer fans. And when I always appreciate the pass, Jeff, way more than I appreciate the goal every time. Like they're like, wow, what a finish. I'm just like, what? Did you see that pass? Like that's what I care more about. Like I feel like the guy that passes the ball never gets any credit, you know, like, so it's very disappointing, you know, but I think that you look at the average age of that team and the age of the players that are really on the come up. And I mean, hey, Canada, Mexico, USA, we're the ones hosting, in 4 years' time. So that's when hopefully everybody will be a little bit better. We got to develop the back end a little bit and the defenders, but definitely disappointing. You know what's crazy is that the best performance they had was against Belgium. That is what's shocking, is that was supposed to be the hardest opponent, and somehow that was the game that we played the best in. That's what kind of was disappointing to me. The Croatian match was upsetting to watch. We're all out. It was like, I think 11, I think it was like 12 o'clock local time, maybe. We're at a bar. It was happy hour, 5 o'clock, $5 beers. And like everybody was having a good time. And then the day went downhill. It was like, all right, we're on to football. At least football. What about you? Did you watch many of the games?
I have the games on here at the office, more for people coming in. They want to sit down, watch them. I got an eye on if the U.S. was playing. I'll be here tomorrow morning. U.S. is on at 9. It leads us right up, obviously, to the college football slate and hockey and college basketball. But they're on. I've been following them. We gave out Argentina at 4-1 and Messi to win the Golden Boot at 9-1, and it was kind of comical. I was sleeping the first game, obviously, and wake up and Argentina lost the first game, and I'm like, oh, here we go, great job, great. And then, of course, they win the next 2, they get through. But Messi scored in the first game, scored in the second game, so he's had 2 goals, and got a penalty kick. I mean, he's got to be at least minus 280 on a penalty kick, and he got stopped. And I'm like, Jesus, that would have been 3 goals, 3 games, at least get us to, but having fun watching it. I think for the U.S., they survived, they advanced, and then that's a big step for them in the Cup. Do I expect them to win tomorrow? No, I don't. Could they win? Yeah, I think they could. If they do win, they're not winning the next game. And as for Canada, this is the way I look at it. It's better to be in the dance and get the experience than be like the U.S. in the last Cup and out of the dance and watching and playing the woulda, coulda, shoulda card.
Yeah. That's for sure. I mean, we didn't go home with anybody, but we were at the party.
That's right.
That's that's the way I really look at it. We didn't get lucky, but we showed up, and I think that there's lots to learn. I think it's just really disappointing. See, to me, like the nice goals that the other team scored weren't that bad. Like, I mean, like weren't really too hard to watch, right? Like I said, I can appreciate a nice pass that's up right on the foot. But the thing is, I didn't like how the defense got caught up too much. Like the thing is that the forwards they couldn't finish, but our best like attribute was the defense, really, all throughout the Concacaf matches. So the fact that they got beat so hard was really tough. And then I can't always pronounce his name right, Borjan. Yeah, I think that the goalie, the goalkeeper. Did you see the mistake he made in the last game? That one was tough. But look, I'm cheering for USA. I'll watch the match tomorrow. I'm still recovering a little bit, so it'll be just tomorrow will be a fun day. World Cup, NHL, UFC. So I've even got a UFC pick for you today, actually. But we can get into that, or we got some NHL tonight, whatever you think.
All right,
I know I'm not your UFC guy.
Well, no. I trust me. Any UFC helps. Trust me. We got some spies in the sky in Vegas that give us calls on the UFC card. Have a couple people that write that give us information. Not one of our bigger. It's like soccer. I've been waiting for a soccer and tennis guy. Let me see. January 1st will be the start of our 8th year. I've been waiting for 8 years for who's a soccer expert, who's a tennis expert. And I got 10,000 resumes. I say, this is what I need. This is what I'm looking for. And I still have 10,000 resumes. No one wants to step to the plate there. Hockey tonight, 3 games. Ottawa at the Rangers. You're looking at around minus 180 for the Rangers. A 6.5 over minus 112. Nashville at the Islanders. Islanders opened at 150, now 154. There are some 160, 65s. A 5.5 juiced over minus 25 cents. Columbus, Winnipeg. Overnight number, the Jets minus 245, now minus 200. A 6.5. Anything pique your interest?
I really like this under in the Senators Rangers game. A lot of the times, like I like to look at the opposite of whatever happened in the first time a team met when they're playing close. A couple days after. This isn't one of the cases. These teams played just a couple days ago. Halak was the goaltender for the Rangers. The game finished 3-1. The thing is, the Rangers are in a really interesting situation where they've just completely been underachieving this year, but not as much offensively, more so defensively. But I think that's just been a huge pressure point for their coaching staff, for their players. And you could even see their forwards are being a lot more responsible defensively. When that happens, it hurts your offense a little bit because you're staying back more. You're not jumping up. You're not cherry picking, floating up by the blue line. That stuff really is a big deal. And Shesterkin, well, I said last year on your show, and I wasn't trying to disrespect the Rangers, but I did think they relied a little bit too heavily on him. And I think we're kind of seeing that. Shesterkin shows like he's human a little bit, and all of a sudden everyone's, right, what's going on with the Rangers? What's going on with Shesterkin? Well, the guy's having an off-ish, start, but it's an average start to most goaltenders, right? So I believe he's getting the start tonight. The last time I checked, yeah, he's getting the start versus Cam Talbot, who Cam Talbot's actually not been too bad for the team he plays for. And we're getting a 6.5, So I think Ottawa's sort of struggling offensively too. So I think that as much as we might look at some of both these teams and say, well, they've got scores and they've played a little bit, weak defensively, I think we go right back to the under, just like we saw a couple days ago when these teams played. I think we see another low-scoring victory, and I think it's very similar result for the Rangers. Honestly, maybe I'll call it 3-2 Rangers, something like that tonight. I think that Ottawa, this is not a team that Ottawa can bounce back against and get rolling against. But I think that the Rangers will be really putting a lot of emphasis on their defense. So at the 6.5, I like the under quite a bit in this one.
Team totals Ottawa 2.5 over minus 140. Rangers 3.5 over minus 120. For me, the way I look at this, it's like they're baiting you to take obviously the over on the Rangers at 220. I'm sorry, at over 20 cents. And Ottawa They're trying to lean to tell you that they're going to get to 3 and they're going to charge you the minus 40. So I could definitely see Ottawa getting stuck on stupid or 2 here. And where the Rangers, do they land on 3 or do they get the empty netter and 4-2 and you still cash the ticket?
Yeah, and I agree with you. So where would you go if you were betting team totals? What would you do?
If I had to bet a team total in this game, I would take Ottawa team total under 2.5, and I would take the plus 120 money.
I think so. Me too. And you know what? That's because I've learned that from you. I think that's where I'd go because everybody's going to look at the revenge factor. They just played a couple days ago. I do read a lot into that because I think it is a thing in hockey. You watch film, you figure out what you did wrong, you get a chance to right the wrongs, but it doesn't always work out that way. Life isn't always like that. Sometimes you're going to just lose again to that same team. Sometimes a team has your number. Similar to the next game, I think that the Islanders have beat the Nashville Predators, I think like 5 or 6 times in a row, something like that. Let me try and pull this up. I was trying to have a smooth segue for you. Sorry, it's Nashville. Nashville 8-0 in their last 8 games against the Islanders. So that's something that's kind of interesting to follow, and whether it's different teams or not, or sorry, different players in the team or not, something that's kind of worth mentioning. But in that one in particular, Jeff, I don't care if it's kind of a little bit of a fishy number there. I like the over. I do. Sorokin in net has been great, but I actually have high belief in this Nashville offense that really hasn't been doing too great. They've only beat up on some of the bad teams a little bit, but the last time they played, it was 5-4, and guess who was in net? Ilya Sorokin. And that was when Saros was in net for Nashville. And I think we're seeing Lankinen in net for Nashville tonight. So how do we have a 6 the last time they played, but Saros is in net, but a 5.5 now when Lankinen is in net? And the last time they played, there were 9 goals.
Well, they're telling
I know
you
it looks like I'm falling for it, but I am falling for it.
they're telling you it's a Friday night special, Andrew.
I know.
How about if I told you? If I told you that the team, okay, didn't Nashville just play last night and put up a 4 spot?
Yes, they played against New Jersey.
Okay.
Which should help our case, shouldn't it?
Well, what if I told you, if you asked me who would I take on a team total here? With a 5.5, I would take the Islanders team total over 3.5 plus the 110.
That makes sense to me. That's probably where I would go as well. I lean towards the Islanders in this game. But see, the funny thing is like I know that like after talking to you and a lot of people, like this is one of those games that screams what the hell is going on. But not every time you have to buy into. Like I don't know. I haven't bet this yet. I haven't decided yet if I'm playing a game in the NHL tonight. But I'll tell you what, I look at this game and I think that the Nashville offense needs to get going. They got going last night. Why bother waiting to play a couple days after? Why not play the next night? And I think they might have some tired legs too. It's a backup goaltender. It's a rare 5.5. I'll take the over, but I will look towards the Islanders just like yourself. Now, as far as that Winnipeg team, I've sold you before. Just like you say about Montreal, Winnipeg is the team that's had my number. And it's very unfortunate because they've played very well this year.
You know, I'm going to backtrack to that Islander game for 1 second. As crazy as what you said, it looks like an over. It should be over. It smells like a duck, quacks like a duck, then it's a duck. But the insanity here is it's a 5.5, right? They're giving you the Islanders under 3.5 at minus 130, right? So what they're trying to do is say, soft and easy line here, guys. We'll open up another one. The game's going to stay under 6, and the Islanders are minus 170 in some spots right now. But they're telling you, 3-0, 3-1, maybe 3-2. It's not going to go to 6. But the insanity on my brain, the actual play and the plus money play is the Islanders to get to 4 or better. And it doesn't seem possible with a 5.5 under over.
So that would just lead you to play the Islanders to win.
No, I'm not going to lay the 170. I'm going to take the plus money.
Yeah. But I'm saying like that makes you like you think they're going to win.
Yes. So you don't want to play the 170. So what do most people do? Well, what are they in regulation and what are they in the puck line? Where I've been just saying, you know what? I'm staying away from the regulation. I'm staying away from the puck line. I'm not laying the 170. You're going to give me plus money. I'll take my swing in getting to 4. Now, is that a 3-1 in an empty netter? Is that a 3-3 in overtime? Is that but it's been working, finding angles, finding value, finding plus money. How can I get into plus money and not lay the 170?
I agree. I want to avoid those long term. I think that those can really bite you, especially in the NHL with these big favorites. TJ has given us a 4-3. How about I'll take that? I'll take a 4-3. But one thing that's interesting, see, like my counterpoint to you that I would say just to play devil's advocate would be with a low total of 5.5. If I looked at a team total for the Isles, you pretty much, even let's say 5 minutes into the game, Nashville has a goal. I'd immediately be regretting taking a team total on any team because I would say that the full game is in play. It's not like we're getting a 6.5 and we need 7. That's the only thing is as the low total of 5.5. If the opposite, like if the team that's not your team total team scores early in the game, that could be contributing to your full game over. Instead, it's doing nothing to your team total.
Let me ask you a question. The under
does that not make sense?
It makes sense. But 4-1, we both still win.
Yes.
Okay.
I need 4-2.
Okay, you need 4-2. You're correct. So let's play devil's advocate for a second. In the whole game here, you like the over the best, correct?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so you got over 5.5 right now. I'll just pick a over 5.5. Actually, and it's actually at 6 at DraftKings right now, 6 at Circa, but we'll still use the 5.5 minus the 30 cents. Okay. Would you rather lay 30 cents on over 5.5, or would you rather lay 30 cents that Nashville gets to 3 and better?
As in, like they contribute to
their team totals 2.5 minus 130 or 130 over.
See, I would rather the full game.
Okay.
There.
No, the full game. What do you mean? The over?
Yeah, the over. Yeah.
Okay, so you want to rely on 2 teams to get you to 6 versus just Nashville to score 3 goals and then you turn the page.
I think so. Just because I get what you're saying, because for me in this game is if I had a strong enough opinion, I would just play a side or I would play the team total. But this is one of those games where I think that it's 2 mediocre teams that are underachieving defensively, I think, but are underachieving offensively, that could hopefully kind of outpour a little bit. And I think they could do it against each other. And I like the back-to-back angle for Nashville. Don't let the minus 30 cent impact thought process is what TJ's saying. See, it's fun. See, I'm always trying to save juice. I'm like you, and that's why I look for the team totals and stuff. But sometimes with team totals, you don't know how many times I've played a team total. Like if I would play, let's say I played Nashville's team total over 2.5 tonight, they lose 5-1. You know what I mean? Like that'd be my luck, right? So like I guess what I'm saying is I think that we could get goals in this game. I just don't want to rely on one team to do it.
And TJ, your thought process, I get it, because in our lanes here, we always look for plus money, minus 110, 115, 120. Now you start going down the line. Well, 125 is all right. Then 130 is all right. And no, I'm just talking, TJ. I'm not scolding you. I'm not lecturing you. I'm just talking. My fact is that the lines that Vegas creates is what's helping us to try to solve the Rubik's Cube.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'll go to an apples and oranges here. Is a 24.5 juiced under? Is Vegas is trying to lean the public and the degens to say it's going to go under 24? Well, to me, I'm going to take the plus money and it's going to go over 24. So when I look, I'm not scared of a minus 130. Okay, but what I'm trying to explain here is they're trying to say in a 5.5 under over, you can take the Islanders team total at 3.5 juiced under minus 30 cents at a 5.5. So they're trying to tell you, as long as the Islanders don't go to 4, we're going to grade your wager as a win. So when you're trying to do basic math, that should be minus 160, 165.
Yeah.
But they're giving you the easy option to say, hey, I don't think the Islanders are going to score 4. The under over is 5.5. How the hell are they going to score 4?
So you said if you were playing this game, you would take Islanders team total over? Is that what you said? Or no, you said you would take the under on Nashville, right? Or no, what was the bet that you said?
I think no, I was asking you if you like the over, the easy play in other words, if you like the over in this game, it's minus 30 cents at 5.5. So do you feel more comfortable with Nashville to get to 3 at minus 130 or the 5.5? So you're getting 2 teams to get to 6 or one team to get to 3.
Because Nashville's is 3.5, right? Or New York's is 3.5, right?
New York's 3.5 juiced under. So what they're doing is they're setting up a small scenario, and the minus one, it's not minus 150, it's not minus 160, it's 130, which, as TJ was talking about, most people don't get afraid of 30-cent juice. So Nashville just scored 4 last night against the Devils, who defensively, correct me if I'm wrong, are better than the Islanders, aren't they?
I would say so. Yep. Right now they are. That's for sure.
So if you scored 4 last night against one of the best defensive teams in the league, 3 should be a layup here. So the way I read this game here is I read the Islanders 4-2, 4-1, 4-0. That's how I read this game.
Let's see how the Islanders have done lately scoring. So 3, 3, 3, 5, and 1.
No 4s yet. No 4s yet.
Yeah, no 4s since the 17th when they did score 4 against the Nashville the last time they played, if anybody cares about that. Then a couple of days earlier, they scored 4 against Ottawa and then 4 against Columbus, 2 teams that give up goals. So, yeah, it's funny, though. Recent form, like I talked about, like you said, 1. Yeah, they did have 5 against Philadelphia, actually. But I agree. I'm going to stick with it. Because I don't know who's going to win.
And again, it's not that I'm going to release it. It's just how I see this. If we're going to use the 5.5 as the base, usually with the 5.5, they stay under. Most days are 6 or 6.5. Okay, so this is supposed to be an underplay, first of all. So in an underplay of 5.5, you usually don't take a team to go to 4 or more. So that's against stupidity. But the fact of the matter is it's only 30 cents. I'm grabbing plus 10 cents on it to say, you know what? I think they can get to 4. I'm not using nothing about Nashville playing back. I don't care if they played back. I don't care if they just played on Mars. I'm just taking tonight's game and what they did there. So it's interesting for sure.
Well, there's a soccer handicapper at Wager Talk, and his name is Pavlos. And whenever he bets an over in soccer, he always says, I don't care who wins. I just want 3 goals. And that's how I feel. That's how I feel right now. I don't care who wins. I just want 6 goals. That's how I feel. But, you have taught me a lot with these and like looking at breaking down the prices. And I don't want to feel like I've disappointed you by not taking a team total here.
No, not at all.
But because I do understand what you're saying. I guess just part of me is just, really that's my answer for it is just really, I don't know who's going to win. But I believe between the two of them, we can get to 6. I don't know which team is the one that gets me to 4. is really.
And the last two nights, there was two high-scoring games. Both teams were like 3.5 juice under minus 165. And I read it. It's going to overtime. First one, it's going to be 3-3. First one to 4 wins. And so I look at something like this, and I'm saying something doesn't add up here. Something is not adding up here. I mean, because if it was 3.5 juice under minus 150, 160, I get that part of it, but they're just leaving it there at the minus 130 to say it's only a 5.5, guys. They're not getting the 4. I mean, trust us.
I did this the other day on one of my shows. I know you have to wrap up. You have a show coming up in a few minutes, Jeff, but I have to do this because you'll get a kick out of this. I did this on a show the other day, and I nailed it, but I didn't even bet it myself, which I was mad about, so I got to do this today. Let's see here. You can find exact scores, usually, for some of these games, and correct score here. Let's see. Okay. So we can get 4-2 Predators 16-1, 4-2 Islanders at 12-1.
What's 4-1 Islanders?
4-1 Islanders is 14-1. Something tells me this game lands exactly on 6, but I don't know who does it. I'm confident in the over, but not confident enough that it's going to be a goal fest.
Okay, so 4-1 Islanders was 14-1.
Yeah, this is from Bet365.
And what's 4-2 Islanders?
Just 1 second. Where is this? 4-2 Islanders 12-1.
Okay, well that okay. So there again, you could have the 3-2 game and the empty netter there as well, and the other one. Okay. Well,
I'm gonna lock those in. I'm gonna make sure I do it. I'm gonna bet 4-2 on each team, on each side. See what happens.
Well, make sure a little pizza and beer money on that 4-1. That's your saver. That's your saver in case it doesn't go over.
Well, we could probably bet all 4 of those and still make some money.
That's right. That's right.
I'll be thinking of you. I'll owe you some pizza and beer.
Before I let you go, NFL slate. Anything stick out to you on Sunday?
Honestly, when I look at this board, like it was one of those things. Like, okay, so the Broncos Ravens game is one that everybody's talking about. That's one thing I was pulling up for a second. We were talking about that Islanders. So everybody wants to rip on Russell Wilson and how bad the offense has been, but you know what hasn't really been that bad is their defense. It's been pretty much the only thing good about that team. I'm going to take the points with them. The Ravens are a team that I don't trust with a big point spread. They're a team that I trust to win close games, maybe sometimes, drive the field. And I don't like taking the Ravens to win by more than a touchdown, and this is what we're seeing here. This is a Broncos team that has struggled to put drives together, no doubt about it, but they still have a decent run game despite some injuries they've had and some other stuff. But I think the pace of this game will make it hard enough alone for the Ravens to be able to put up, I think they have to put up, honestly, like 26 points to cover this point spread, something like that. I think the Broncos can hang around. So that was one I liked. And I think I just love when I go on shows and give us some contrarian picks, because I think that nobody wants to bet on the Broncos this week. But that's more to me as a betting a numbers, not teams type of situation there. Commanders, Giants. I like the home dog. I like the Giants to get it done. They're a team that, as much as everybody keeps saying that they don't really deserve to be as good as they've been this year, they don't really look. They're not flashy, but they get the job done. And this is kind of a situation when there's short dogs. This is when I've liked to bet on the Giants. So this is the spot that I'm interested in them. And another game I'll say, really, I'm riding things out with the Jags. The Jags are a team that their point differential has been so weird all season long. They're a way better team than they were last year, but their record straight up and ATS does not dictate that. If you look at their numbers, really, standings wise, I think they go ahead and I think they beat the Lions on the road, despite the fact that one of my favorite props of the week is actually Jared Goff over on his passing yards. I think that game does go over, but I think that Jacksonville does pull it off in the end. So a couple plays I like, trying to keep a contrarian as the season moves on. I know there are certain spots to bet on favorites, but am I crazy? I like that Broncos play. I mean, you can call me crazy. I love making fun of Russell Wilson, but the fact of the matter is, to me, that's too many points. Everyone, think about it. Jeff, you're the one that always tells me this stuff. Every single person in the world seems to have the Ravens in their teasers this week.
Oh,
I
sure.
haven't met one person that doesn't have Ravens in their teasers this week. This seems like one of those ugly, ugly games where the Broncos defense plays well. They run the ball down their throat, and then we see the Ravens win by a touchdown.
Do you know who has played like you know what the last 6 weeks? As bad as Russell Wilson has been all year, Lamar Jackson has been awful.
Yeah.
I mean, awful, but they get inflated numbers. I mean, poor Russell Wilson had a birthday. His wife invited the whole team. Only half of them showed up. And Russell's, first year in Denver hasn't been, puppies, cupcakes, and unicorns, unfortunately, but he's getting paid handsomely. But yeah, Lamar does not deserve a 9.5 point favorite against anyone right now.
So that's where I'm looking, and people are looking at me kind of funny for making that. But that's what I like there, and I do like that the Giants there as home dogs.
Andrew, I had the crawler going the whole time at McInnis Picks at Wager Talk at Sports Mayflower. Everyone, please go over to YouTube to Mayflower Sports. Subscribe. It's for free. Andrew, you said UFC this weekend. We got NHL. We'll have the World Juniors coming up. Tell everyone, A, where they can find you, and B, what you got going on at Wager Talk for specials.
Yeah, really, the biggest thing I want to promote right now is I've got a huge pickup tomorrow in the UFC. 7-3 on these top-rated plays in 2022. So obviously, I've only released 10 throughout the whole calendar year. Very selective with these, and it's a really good spot. If I package up at Wager Talk right now, where pretty much you can buy the pick right in one package, and for $4 more, you get that best bet plus 3 more additional plays on the card. So that's what I really am going to promote. And then tomorrow is one of those deals where it's NHL. As you know, I've been a little more lower volume lately, but I always tell people on Saturday, buy a day pass. Don't wait to buy that best bet that's being advertised on the page. Grab a day pass, $39. You'll get everything, UFC, NHL, NBA, every single thing in one package. I did want to give out the free play for UFC. So it's the co-main RDA versus Barberena to not go the distance. It's going to be an absolute talk about not having a gas tank. That's what you're going to experience when you watch this fight. It's going to be class versus, an absolute brawler. Barberena is a guy that's going to go out in the first 30 seconds, give everything he has. If he doesn't get that knockout, he's going to be the one that gets knocked out. So I think that, and it's plus money, plus 135, 140. So that's my UFC player.
Always a pleasure, Andrew. And we'll have a short turnaround. We'll be back on Wednesday at 1:00.
Short week.
Short week is right. No rest for the weary, and we can't thank you enough. Excited. Enjoy the weekend, and good luck with the UFC. Be definitely looking at those 14-16 to ones tonight with the Islanders and the Predators. Islanders and Predators. So. From myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, from the one and only Andrew McInnis at McInnis Picks, we wish everyone a blessed day. Yes, the weekend's here. Happy hour. Buy a round or two. Why not? Especially you ECSI VIP guys. Tip the dealer. Why not? Just kidding. See you soon.